The other day I was at a playground with my grandchildren, and a guy came up to me with a clipboard, and he said, "Sir, would you mind signing this petition?" I said, "What's the petition about?" He says, "It's the tort reform petition." I said, "What's that?" He said, "Well, we want to get tort reform on the ballot." I said, "Why? What is tort reform?" He says, "Tort reform is in order to keep the lawyers from taking all the money from the people who were hurt." I said, "Wait a second. Is that what tort reform is?" He said, "Yeah, would you mind signing this?" I said, "I won't sign it." So what is tort reform? People have been calling me on the phone. People have been writing notes to my Facebook and my blog asking me about tort reform. So I'm going to tell you what tort reform is. I want to give you an example. A man, he's 35 years old, he's married, he's got 3 kids, he has gallbladder problems. So he goes to the hospital and he has gallbladder surgery, and the surgery goes fine. But after the surgery, there's a procedure called post-anesthesia recovery. And in that situation, you go into a special place called a recovery room, and you are closely monitored to make sure that you're breathing deeply, that your blood is getting enough oxygen, that your brain is getting enough oxygen. Well, for some reason, the nurses and the doctors who are in charge of post-anesthesia, in this case, forget him. Maybe their equipment isn't working, maybe they're not paying attention, maybe they're distracted, but the result is that he's not being monitored, he's not getting enough oxygen, and he goes into a coma. Well, when they finally realize that he's in a coma, they immediately take him to the specialty care unit, and he's in a coma for almost a month. And when he recovers, he is blind and deaf in one ear. He is also partially paralyzed. In other words, he has suffered very extensive brain damage. Well, he hires a lawyer, the lawyer files a lawsuit, and basically the evidence shows that the doctor and the nurses made a terrible mistake, and as a result of the mistake, this man will forever be unable to lead a normal life. And he is, at this time, he's entitled to his medical bills, his future medical bills, the cost of future care, but also at this time, he is also entitled to something called non-economic damages. Non-economic damages are the damages one suffers when one has a terrible thing that happens to them. It is pain, it is suffering, it is the emotional distress. In this case, the way that he feels and the way that he suffers as a result of not being able to see, as a result of deafness, as a result of partial paralysis. That is what non-economic damages is. Now, tort reform would have non-economic damages limited to $250,000 total. So even though this man was terribly damaged, even though this man suffered terribly, if we were to allow tort reform to happen, he could only get $250,000 for the rest of his life. That's it. And that is what tort reform is. The whole idea behind tort reform is the nursing home companies, which make a lot of mistakes, the medical establishment, which makes a few mistakes, and the insurance companies, which insure them all, they want to limit the amount of money that they have to pay out. And as a result, they are telling the public that the real reason for tort reform is to keep the lawyers from getting all the money. But the truth is, tort reform is a way of limiting non-economic damages. Also, tort reform is there to limit punitive damages. For example, if the doctor was drunk, or if the doctor left the scene, or if the nurse was in the back room, doing something with someone that she shouldn't have been doing, she could be sued for punitive damages, and in that case, the Tort Reform Act would say, well, you can't get punitive damages, or we're going to limit the amount of punitive damages. The idea here is tort reform was created by the insurance industry, by the medical establishment, and mostly by the nursing home establishment as a way of letting them get away with not paying a fair share of the money that they owe for the damage that they've done. That's what tort reform is. Now, if you have any more questions about tort reform, give me a call. I talk to people all the time. I like doing that. My number is 501-374-6300. I'd love to talk to you about it. It's something that's very important to me. And I think it's very important to the public, especially if you've been injured as a result of medical malpractice. My name is Peter Miller. My number is 501-374-6300. Give me a call. And have a nice day.